your hormones. I think some service members are concerned because altering your hormones, they come with a host of issues that not everyone can predict. So not everyone is really riled up for more testosterone. There are a lot of service members who find it to be really contradictory and unfair in the face of rejecting gender affirming care in other areas of the military. But I can tell you from my experience that morale makes a difference underway. Morale has been planned for decades, such as when you're out at sea for 45 days, you get to have 2 beers. You get to have a Seal Beach picnic where you put down the nets on the flight deck, maybe take a swim call, put on some music, get cozy on the non-skid, and just have some time together, camaraderie. Yeah, it's combat operations. Maybe it's not sunshine and Steel Beach picnics, but we can do a whole lot better knowing that these morale milestones are the markers service members and sailors look forward to get them through some of the most strenuous and difficult times underway.
The world woke up this morning to news that has sent shockwaves through every intelligence agency, every military command, and every chancellery from Washington to Tel Aviv. Over 60 United States soldiers are now unaccounted for in northern Iraq after Iran delivered one of the most devastating strikes of this entire conflict, targeting a hotel in Erbil that was housing American military personnel. This was not a warning shot. This was not a message. This was the first military operation of a newly restructured Iranian military apparatus, and by every indication, it marks the beginning of what can only be described as the war's most dangerous phase. The strike on the Arjan by Rotana Hotel, a location well known to be frequented by U.S. personnel and contractors, was so sudden, so precise, and so devastating that even mainstream media outlets found themselves hesitating, questioning the authenticity of the reports, scrambling to verify what their own sources were telling them. But the footage is real. The explosions were real, and the absence of over 60 American soldiers is very, very real. This is the first major military operation executed under Iran's new wartime command structure, a structure that has been completely overhauled in recent weeks, following a significant leadership reshuffle. Major General Ahmad Vahidi now commands the Iranian military, and he has made it abundantly clear that Tehran has abandoned any pretense of a purely reactive or retaliatory doctrine. The days of responding to American aggression with measured, calculated strikes are over. What we are witnessing now is a fundamentally offensive posture, a military machine that has decided to take the fight directly to the enemy.
Salaki, I have to say this. I did make a video earlier about that, and, we, the men of the Lord, with all praise due to Yahweh Shem Shah, have given us the spirit to see these things before they happen, And now, 3 or 4 days later, now they're, saying the same thing, if you will. But, it's pretty obvious. And again, we already know the outcome, so as soon as the tide starts going the other way, who's going to be the first one to notice? We're on eggshells. We're hastening, looking for it, hastening. Right?
Rather than waiting to be hit first.
Salakish. Shalom. Call hello, Yahweh Shemil, Shabbat Shem Kagadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops, a great millstone, even the elder to get before them that taught us its truth. Shalom and salutation to all the brothers out pushing the word in truth and in sincerity, the hopeful like tabernacle of David. The elder Yahshua back with the WW3 Daily update. Shalom and salutations to you all. Continue on.
The Erbil Hotel strike was executed with a level of coordination and precision that suggests months of planning, and it sends a terrifyingly clear message. Iran is no longer interested in playing defense. This shift in strategy did not happen in a vacuum. It came after weeks of escalating tensions, after CENTCOM Chief Admiral Brad Cooper reportedly pushed the Trump administration to consider attacking key Iranian infrastructure in a bid to appease the occupation forces. Let that sink.
Salaki, real quick. They don't want people to know, hey, not only did we lose the war, the U.S., now Iran is like, now I'm finna bring it to you. And this is what I was trying to say the other day. All right, people don't understand. Not only did you lose the war, now the war is about to be brought to you. That's what's happening. And people are in such disbelief that we could even lose a war, let alone now they're about to bring it. That's what it means that Iran is in an offensive stance or has taken an offensive position. They're coming after you now. What do you not understand about it?
Again for a moment. An American commander, acting in the interests of a foreign occupation regime, advocated for strikes that would have plunged the entire region into an even deeper abyss. And now, Iran has responded not with words, but with fire. Before I continue with the rest of this breaking coverage, I want to ask you to do something. If you believe in honest journalism, coast roughly an hour apart, and they hit 2 ADNOC oil tankers owned by the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company. These were not warning shots across the bow. These were direct hits on commercial shipping, a brutal and unmistakable assertion of Iranian authority over one of the most strategically vital waterways on the planet. The United Arab Emirates has condemned the attacks as acts of piracy. But let's be honest about what is really happening here. Iran is not engaging in piracy. Iran is enforcing its sovereignty. Iran is sending a message to every nation in the region that the Strait of Hormuz is not an American lake, and it is certainly not a playground for the occupation forces and their allies. Since the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran broke out on February 28th, shipping through the strait has been repeatedly disrupted. Freight rates have skyrocketed, insurance premiums have gone through the roof, and the global energy market is now teetering on the edge of catastrophe. And yet, Washington continues to push for more confrontation.
As the world itself, right, is in disarray. World trade is done. It is spiraling. It can't recover. Down goes Fraser, down goes Fraser.
This is not about freedom of navigation. This is about control. This is about hegemony. And Iran has made it abundantly clear that it is no longer willing to bow to American dictates.
You know, where I live is known. So if the Americans and the Israelis bomb my house, it's not an intelligence coup. Everyone in the neighborhood, from the supermarket guy to the the barber shop, they all know where my home is. So I mean, and the same is true with others. Assassinating Iranians by firing missiles at their apartment buildings is not an intelligence coup. That's just how the United States and the Israeli regime work. They are utterly barbaric, and this is where sometimes because when you say like this is terrible what's happening to the United States and the Chinese, or I saw something you were doing a show with someone about the economy, and I listened in, and you were saying this is terrible that the United States is falling back. I don't see the United States as morally superior to any country on this planet. In fact, I consider them the most morally inferior, the U.S. government on this planet after the Israeli regime. I prefer Cuba, North Korea, Venezuela, well, the former Venezuela.
North Korea.
Any country to these
North Korea.
Oh, yes, definitely. North Korea has never used chemical weapons against other nations.
It doesn't mean they wouldn't if they have the chemical.
Yeah, well, I don't know. They haven't done it yet. But North Korea doesn't, rape prisoners to death in prison, and then the rapists are celebrities on TV, and they go on TV shows. Yeah. Well, then the United States supports it, so the values are the same. If God forbid, well, I don't even want to give the example, but if A carries out all sorts of atrocities, and then B, meaning me, aids them in carrying out those atrocities, there's not much difference. I mean, without B, A could never do those things.
That's all we need. Her shame shall be seen. Let me get that. This is bad. We're not looking good. They can say anything. Let's see. I'm going to get this here. Lock it. Bear with me for a moment. Babakasha. Shia. Sulaki, bear with me. Seems wrestling me. Isaiah 47. Let's see. Bear with me. And I'm going to close after this. That's all we need. Yeah, Miranda can sit there and tell the truth. And then it's, anti-climatic. Clanmetic. That's what they. Well, you can't tell the truth in Mississippi. That's anticlimactic. Let's see. Isaiah 47. And what? 16? Shame shall cover you, her shame shall be seen. Where's that go? Yeah. Salaki, hold on. This fucking devil knows exactly what he's doing. Damn. Come on, dude. Really? Got me again. I said, her shame shall be seen. Thy nakedness. 47 to 3 Salakia. Right here. Oh my God. Isaiah 47 and 3. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. This is what I was looking for. I will take vengeance and I will not meet thee as a man. Okay, so, let's see. O virgin daughter of Babylon. Who's that? It's America the Unbeautiful. Okay, so here we are. Let's see, where are we at? Mirandi. Do that again. Come down and sit in the dust and confusion. O virgin daughter of Babylon. Jump down to 3. Isaiah 47 and 3. Take the millstone, Salakia. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. Why? Tell us, Miranda. Give us some more reasons.
I'll tell you my stance. Yeah, I'll tell you my stance. That's a very interesting point because I've thought about this. I'll tell you my stance is because I could criticize U.S. foreign policy, what the U.S. has done in Iran, what the U.S. has done in Iraq and Afghanistan, in the Middle East, on and on. The support for Israel is probably the thing that upsets me the most. While also,
genocide is what.
You ever wonder why?
Genocide and what you guys are doing in Gaza, and giving them weapons, and you're more than part of the problem.
Wanting the U.S. or a democracy, I'd say U.S., Europe, etc., to be a superpower or one of the superpowers. The reason is I believe in, I don't want to say Western values, is very broad, but I believe in democratic values. I believe in decentralized power, Now, I know the U.S. is not a perfect democracy, but the argument
it's not a democracy.
No, not democracy. But I just want to explain the argument of like, okay, but then does that mean I advocate for what the U.S. is doing? My worry is if we move to a world where China being the superpower, the hegemon, or a unipolar world, and that world is more peaceful, then I would advocate for that. I would advocate because I'm against war. But my worry is when a country has the amount of power that the U.S. has, if you look throughout history, whenever there's a hegemon, whenever a country has unchecked power, it tends to abuse it. And I think this is not an American problem. This is not a British problem. This is not a Japanese problem when it had the Japanese Empire. This is an Ottoman problem. None of these problems. It's a human problem. And I just believe that whenever there's a hegemon, whatever that country is, even if it's Iran, even if it's South Korea, even if it's Spain, think of the most peaceful country, China. China is a non-interventionist. But I think if China does become the hegemon, eventually, the same way the U.S. has changed from the 1940s to where we are today.
We're the hegemon.
That same thing could apply for China. I could be wrong, but I think the issues we're talking about are more issues of human nature rather than issues of Iran or the U.S. or China or Japan.
Go, Randy.
Well, I think that's a long debate that we could have, but I believe that the Western empires over the last few hundred years, they're the ones that have devastated the world. And they've destroyed China, among other places, the Opium Wars, or for example, Churchill, who's celebrated often in the West, I mean, he was deeply racist, and he used chemical weapons in Iraq, and he was, you should read the language that he uses about Indians. And so on. So,
it's disgusting.
So I don't consider. I mean, again, when I talk about the West, I'm talking about the elites. I'm not talking about ordinary people who go to work every day. Right now, they're victims like everyone else. Increasingly, I think it's becoming increasingly clear that the empire, the Epstein class, doesn't differentiate between little girls in the United States or little girls in Gaza. But in any case, I do think there's a difference in values. I think in the case of Iran, contrary to what you may think, and again, I remind you to go and read that book, Going to Tehran, by the Leverets. It's a good book. And to read Alistair Crook's book, Resistance, to get a better understanding of Iran. Regardless of 47 years of anti-Iranian propaganda by Western media, the reality is the opposite, and I think the events in Gaza show that. The only country that was sincere about opposing the genocide in Gaza was Iran. No one else was sincere. Some gave lip service, but no one paid a price, any price at all, for the people of Gaza, even a little bit. If they did, they'd be punished for it. They'd be sanctioned. They'd be marginalized. They'd be, they'd be hurt, but it's because the values that exist in Iran and the Islamic Republic of Iran, regardless of what they say about it, it cannot tolerate the genocide. And I think I may have said this to you before. It's not just because Palestinians are Muslims. If the Palestinians in Gaza were Jews and in Israel, they were the Muslims, and they were doing this, Iran would be at war with the Muslims. So that's just how the Islamic Republic of Iran is. Regardless of how they like to frame it and say that they murdered 6 million people in the riots, and they cut women in half, or they eat children for breakfast and beat up the men for dinner, or whatever, cook the men for dinner, whatever they say. The reality, I think, Gaza shows the reality. When you put all the propaganda aside, one side pays the price because they see Palestinians as human beings, and everyone else, all the other countries, and I'm not talking about the people of those countries.
Yeah.
Because we saw millions of people across the world, from Australia to Spain, protesting against
the U.S. everywhere,
the genocide. Yeah, everywhere. I'm in Jeff.
What makes this
Genocide
moment so extraordinarily dangerous is the sheer breadth of Iran's recent operations.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop it there. Yeah, Miranda, he can sit there and talk about Babylon, right? Things he would easy for him to just go back. Oh well, Churchill, he is very racist and he hated the dot heads and the. So I mean, here we are. Oh, and when it went into the Chaldeans, see, the Virgin Daughter of Babylon is talking about Babylon the Great. But when you go to daughter of the Chaldeans, who are the Chaldeans? Well, those are the wise men. So you got America and those that are driving it, right? And he went into that. Miranda went into that. You know, the ones that are driving Churchill and things of that nature. Anyway, their nakedness is being uncovered. That whole thing about the boat, the ship, and if you understood what you saw when this opened, they opened up talking about transgender, and the problem. See, it says that on that aircraft carrier that 7 people might have died because of a fight. What do you think was going on out there? Who was fighting who? See, shit is getting real out there. Who's a man, who's not, da 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 da. People jumping over the side. What you think is going on that boat? Listen close. One more time.
I think some service members are concerned because altering your hormones, they come with a host of issues that not everyone can predict. So not everyone is really riled up for more testosterone. There are a lot of service members who find it to be really contradictory and unfair in the face of rejecting gender affirming care in other areas of the military. But I can tell you from my experience that morale makes a difference underway.
What the hell do you think is going on that aircraft carrier that's been out there way too long, right? As Jeremiah 51 and 30. In the NLT, her mightiest warriors, Babylon's warriors, the mighty warriors of Babylon, her mightiest warriors, no longer fight. They stay in their barracks. Their courage is gone. They have become like women. The invaders have burned the houses and broken down the city gates. Looking bad out there for Babylon. Which one of these is a actual woman? With that, we pray that the elect was edified. You brothers and sisters, shalom.